So what we're talking about here is, according to Kip Thorne, time and space are defined so that light speed is constant. And we're talking here about light speed, by which mean in the context of special relativity, where it's treated as constant in a vacuum for inertial frames, free of the influence of fields, etc. So I'm going to go to Wikipedia, show you who Kip Thorne is, and then we'll go to this talk where Kip Thorne is talking about what is space-time, and the relevant part is at 3:13. So we go to that now. Here's Kip Thorne spidering away here. It says about him: he's an American theoretical physicist known for his contributions to gravitational physics and astrophysics. So let's go to the talk now.
Critical factor in making this happen is the standardization of the speed of light from Einstein's special theory of relativity. How does that work?
Einstein postulated, but it's maybe better to say that he intuited, that the speed of light will be the same as measured by everyone, no matter how they move through the universe. Now, in reality, if you go deep into the philosophy of science, what's really going on here is Einstein says, if you define your ways of measuring space and time, define the rate of flow of time in a manner that makes the laws of physics look simple, so that, for example, time is ticked at a regular way by atomic clocks as atoms vibrate in a molecule. It's ticked at a regular way by atomic clock. And if you define space in such a way that the laws of physics look simple, so that if you then measure the distances between atoms in a lattice, those distances are always the same. If you define things so that length and time, so that laws of physics look simple, then the speed of light will always be the same for everybody. And he recognized that. And he said, this is the way we should define lengths and time, is so that the laws of physics look simple. Having chosen that, made that choice, then the speed of light is the same as seen by everybody, and then time is personal. Space.
So that's what he's going on about. Notice the word if. You keep going if. So if you define light length and time that way, and if you're defining it that way, then you are making light speed constant. So if I go back, this is one of my little talks here. Start up a bit. Light speed by mass manipulation and relativity. Einstein supposedly derived time dilation from his two postulates, but really it's just a bodge in the maths. Right, so in this talk I explain that, going by the way Einstein did it, where you're starting from his two postulates, one of them being that light speed is constant, then what you're actually doing is you're bodging up time and space measurements. So you've got the way you do your space and time measurements from Newton, and Einstein just wants to change all that. So that's what making the light speed does, making the light speed constant does when you're doing it via Einstein. So if we go back to this Kip Thorne again, he's saying if you define space and time measurements this way. So we get back to that bit.
If you go deep into the philosophy of science, what's really going on here is Einstein says, if you define
space and time,
your ways of measuring space and time,
measuring space and time, yeah, if you define it that way, you're going to end up with constant light speed. So why do that? And it is totally messing up space and time measurements from the way you're doing it with Newtonian physics. So if you do all that, you are leaving Newtonian physics, the way that Newtonian physics does things. So why are you doing that? He doesn't give an answer to why of doing that. If you do it, if you mess up space and time from the way that Newton does it, you can make it so that light speed is constant. So that's basically what he's doing. It's a mission from him there. So that's what we've done. So go back to that again. Not that one. So in this one, I'll explain, just going by the maths of it, you are hiding what is really variable light speed by messing the mass up. You're going from Newtonian physics, you're messing the mass up and making light speed constant, and by doing that you are messing up time and space measurements from the way you would do things in Newtonian physics. So why are you doing that? That is the big question. Why are you making that sort of mess? Kip Thorne here is saying if you do that mess, if. So why are you going to make that mess? Why not just carry on doing it by Newtonian physics? And that's my point. If you also read into Einstein, it's very confusing what Einstein's talking about, because he's supposed to say starting from two postulates, or sometimes people say it's assumptions, or sometimes people say it's principles, or sometimes people say it's laws of physics. So they're saying, well, what does it really mean? And really what it really means is, if you define light speed as constant, then you get time and space measurements the way that Einstein wants to do things. And so why are you going to do that? Why are you going to make that change from the way you're doing things in Newtonian physics? There's no reason for it. You can just carry on with Newtonian physics. And so that is my main point. You can just stay with Newtonian physics. There's no need for all of this. And Kip Thorne is practically admitting it there. He's sort of like changing what they say about light speed with all these things about if. So we go back to emphasize that.
Einstein postulated, but it's maybe better to say that he intuited that the speed of light will be the same as measured by everyone, no matter how they move through the universe. Now, in reality, if you go deep into the philosophy of science, what's really going on here is Einstein says, if you define...
So why are you going to do that? If you define it that way, but why are you going to do that? Because you're making a change from Newtonian physics.
Your ways of measuring space and time define the rate of flow of time in a manner that makes the laws of physics look simple.
Well, you're saying it looks simple. No, doesn't it? It looks simple when you are in Newtonian physics.
So that, for example, time is ticked at a regular way by atomic clocks as atoms vibrate in a molecule. It's ticked at a regular way by atomic clock. And if you define space in such a way that the laws of physics look simple, so that if you then measure the distances between atoms in a lattice, those distances are always the same. If you define things so that if you define things
the way Einstein wants to deal with it,
length and time, so that laws of physics look simple, then the speed of light will always be the same for everybody.
Which is equivalent to really saying, if you define the speed of light as constant, then you are changing space and time measurements from the way that Newtonian physics deals with things. So really you're just manipulating the maths. You're just hiding what would be treated as variable light speed in the context of Newtonian physics by suddenly manipulating things to look something different in the way Einstein's dealing with it. There's no reason for changing from Newtonian physics really. So he's practically admitting it there.